You're about to learn a secret that the richest 1% of America has been using for 50 years. A secret so simple, so elegant, that it's hidden in plain sight. Not in conspiracy forums. Not in dark corners. It's hiding inside the official government data. This isn't about what happened. It's about what's happening right now. To your paycheck. To your savings. To your ability to build a future. And the worst part, you've been trained to blame yourself. But today, that changes. Because once you understand this mechanism, this one concept, you'll see how the system actually works. And seeing changes everything. Let me take you back. Not to the 1800s. Not to the distant past. To a specific moment. A moment your teachers never explained. A moment that changed your entire future. It's August 5th, 10th, 1971. President Richard Nixon sits in the Oval Office. The room is quiet. What he's about to say will echo through the next 50 years of your life. I am directing Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Most people heard that and thought, okay, sounds technical. Doesn't affect me. They were wrong. What Nixon actually said was this: America is no longer playing by the rules. The dollar is no longer worth anything. It's worth whatever we say it's worth. Think about that for a second. Before that date, if you had $1 in your pocket, you could walk into a bank and say, I want the gold this represents. The government had to give you gold. It was a limit. A physical constraint. The Federal Reserve couldn't just print infinite money. If they printed too much, people would demand gold. The gold would run out. The lie would be exposed. So for almost 100 years, the Federal Reserve had a leash. Then Nixon cut the leash. From that moment on, the Federal Reserve could print as much money as it wanted. As much as it wanted. No limit. No accountability. No one could walk into a bank and demand physical gold. And here's what happened next. Let me give you the actual numbers. These aren't opinions. These are from the Federal Reserve's own website. You can verify them right now. 1,913. Total U.S. money supply equals $10 billion. 1,971. Total U.S. money supply equals $800 billion. 2024. Total U.S. money supply equals $21.7 trillion. In the 58 years before 1971, the money supply grew to $80 billion. In the 53 years after 1971, the money supply grew to $21.7 trillion. The same amount of growth happened in half the time. But you're working the same hours as your parents. Harder, actually. So where did all that money go? That's the question that changes everything. Here's the mechanism nobody talks about. When the Federal Reserve prints new money, it doesn't print it as cash. It prints it as electronic credits to banks. The Fed calls up J.P. Morgan Chase and says, we're creating $50 billion. This credit is yours now. You can lend it out. J.P. Morgan doesn't get this money from thin air slowly. They get it immediately. First. So what does J.P. Morgan do? Do they lend it to you so you can buy a house? No. They do something smarter. They use it to buy financial assets before anyone else can. They buy stocks. They buy bonds. They buy real estate. They buy it at today's prices. But here's the trap. By the time that money filters down through the economy to regular people, like you two, the people who actually work for a living, the prices have already doubled. You try to buy the same asset. But now it costs twice as much. And the person who had first accessed there bought it for half price. This is called the Cantillon Effect. Named after an 18th century economist who noticed that new money always helps the rich first and hurts the poor last. Cantillon watched what happened when gold was discovered in the Americas. The king got the gold first. Then the nobles. Then the merchants. Then the workers. By the time the gold reached the workers, the price of everything had tripled. Nobody stole anything. Nobody broke the law. The system just worked against them. And that system? It's still working. Right now. Against you. The government tells you inflation is 3%. Maybe 4%. You hear that number and think, okay, that's manageable. That's normal. But they're lying to you. Not intentionally. Structurally. They're measuring the wrong things. The inflation number they report is called CPI Consumer Price Index. It measures the cost of things you consume and throw away. Milk. Bread. Gasoline. Coffee. The things you buy every week. The things that disappear. But it doesn't measure the things that build wealth. The things that appreciate. Houses. Stocks. Education. Land. Commercial property. And here's the brutal part. The poor and middle class consume. The rich own assets. So when the government says inflation is 3%, what they actually mean is, the things poor people buy are getting 3% more expensive. But the things rich people own are getting 50 to 500% more valuable. Let me show you the actual data. Housing. 1971. Median house price equals $25,500. 1990. Median house price equals $120,000. 2010. Median house price equals $220,000. 2024. Median house price equals $425,000. That's a 1,666% increase. If wages had kept up, a house that cost $25,000 would cost about $42,000 in 2024. But it costs $425,000. The gap equals $383,000 of stolen wealth. Education. 1971. Average college cost equals $1,500 per year. 1,990. Average college cost equals $9,000 per year. 2010. Average college cost equals $22,000 per year. 2024. Average college cost equals $35,000 per year. That's a 2,233% increase. Someone who wanted to go to college in 1971 paid 3% of the median house price. Someone who wants to go to college in 2024 pays 8% of the median house price. Education went from something you can save for to something that bankrupts you. Stocks. 1971. S&P 500 equals 900. 1990. S&P 500 equals 3,100. 2010. S&P 500 equals 1,250. 2024. S&P 500 equals 6,100. That's a 678% increase. Your wages. 1971. Median household income equals $10,500. 1990. Median household income equals $30,000. 2010. Median household income equals $50,000. 2024. Median household income equals $74,000. That's a 604% increase. You're running faster and faster. But you're falling further and further behind. And here's the thing that breaks your mind. The person with assets doesn't even have to work. A rich person in 1971 who owned a house and some stocks. Their house appreciated 1,666%. Their stocks appreciated 678%. They did nothing. Meanwhile, you worked 50 years. You got raises. You climbed the ladder. And you're poorer than someone who just owned things in 1971. Work doesn't build wealth anymore. Ownership does.